It's 11:10 now. We left at 10:40. I hope you have a good day today, Wade.
Can you guess how much butter? That butter was their main commodity. They had to have a profitable commodity to pay all the bills. So how much butter did they make in one day with those milking 300 cows twice a day?
Oh my goodness.
A lot of butter.
A lot of butter.
Yeah, that's a very educated guess. A lot.
2,000 pounds. Most people say, oh, 200 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe 100.
Oh.
Butter to say. Wow.
But you know, it was a really high quality butter, and they were able to ship it. They didn't have a railroad or a dependable road. It was all, you know, terrible coast to build a road on. But they would market the butter in San Francisco, and in a couple places like Nob Hill and other places, they got $1 a pound. In those days, you could go into town, into Santa Cruz, and have a meal for 2 people for $1.
Who's that?
So, you know, they did a really good job. What is this?
A Polaroid picture.
Oh, you took a photo of her?
Yeah.
What's her name?
This is Rosemary.
Hi, Rosie. Hi, Rosemary.
Hi, Alan.
A little shy.
Yes, very shy these days.
So let's go over the one last little detail I'll give you of the Dobie over here.
Awesome.
Like you. Yeah.
Hello, my friend.
Go for bold.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. You want to be part of this little adventure here?
I don't know what I get into.
We're going to pick up people along the way.
Continue on video 2 on Thursday, July 4th, 2024, 4th of July day, 4th of July weekend. The bike's like mine, Wade, but it has a front basket on the front. I don't see Frank up here. He probably won't be. Howdy.
But they had to chop off a huge section. Here it's on the timetable again. When they built the Victoria in 1897, and so that we lost that whole section. But we're very fortunate to have this one little piece of history here of the Mexican era.
Wow. Dated to
1838, 1839.
Wow.
That's when the Adobies were built. Yeah. See, Karl Volkov, he was an opportunist. He was a Russian sailor who had jumped ship in Monterey, and in the early 1830s, and he ended up marrying one of the Castro daughters. This was a huge land grant, Mexican land grant. Joaquin Castro was a top official in the Mexican government. Anyway, it stretched all the way from this side of Davenport clear down south of Watsonville. And Castroville, of course, is named after the Castro family who ran this whole estate. See, Karl Volkov married one of the daughters, Castro daughters, and was able to obtain the 7,000-acre portion of the land grant. And they, like I said, they built 4 Adobies here and got the dairy started here. Wow. But it all changed in 1850. What happened in 1850 that completely changed history? We had the gold rush, of course.
Gold rush in the 49.
No. Statehood.
Oh.
California became a state because all these men, it was like 97% men, came from all over the world to work in the mines or to pan and the placer mining, in the streams and stuff. Anyway, so it became a state, and this became foreign territory immediately. And since it was a land grant, they really didn't have the paperwork that was sufficient to prove ownership. And so they had to borrow money from Moses Meter, who built this house over here. And unfortunately, the lawyers couldn't get the paperwork together in time. These, group. So he foreclosed, and they were forced out. And so he continued the dairy to a small scale. But he was just a Santa Cruz businessman. And then around 1869, 1870, it came up for sale. He wanted to sell it, and Dobie Wilder and another rancher up in Point Reyes. If either of you have been at Point Reyes?
I've not. You have.
There's a lot of cows up there. That's one section of the coast where we have dairy that is still thriving there. It used to be a huge area. It's like all the way from north of Davenport through here was huge dairy, big dairy. No more. There's no more dairy here. But at one time, I'd say it was. Anyway, they bought it at a good price, and the two of them bought it together. And they had an agreement. They flipped a coin and said whoever won the toss, they would get the bottom land. And for raising dairy, cattle, and alfalfa. But the loser got a huge part of the side of this mountain here, or the Santa Cruz Mountains. And so Dobie Wilder won the toss. Mr. Baldwin lost the toss. So Dobie Wilder was able to expand hugely this ranch and make it in the largest dairy ranch in Santa Cruz County.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, what makes it extraordinary here is many of these tiles were made for the Santa Cruz Mission, and so Carl Balkoff was kind of a go-between different peoples between the mission, and, the Mexican, and the rest of the gang. And so they brought these out. So these were made in the 1780s. These tiles here are really quite old. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing a bit about
So,
it. Yeah.
in the way of the timeline then, so it became, in the early 1830s, it became Mexican territory, late 1820s, early 1830s. And then, 1850, statehood, they were forced out. And then Moses Meter took over at that time and built this house. This one section here was 1858, 1859. So only just a few years after this was built. But they came from Connecticut, so they had to have a wooden, wooden platform, whatever it is, same as East Coast. Instead of, the trouble with adobe, it's dirty, and you get all kinds of bugs and vermin and everything else. But
Well,
anyway.
hey, thanks for sharing
Sure,
so much.
my
I think
pleasure.
we're going to keep exploring and see what we
Okay,
can find. Thank
all
you
right.
for sharing the
Thank
history.
you. My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You have a question? Any questions? Okay.
Maybe.
Well, I'll give you one last detail here, which is fascinating. Excuse me. Sure. The horse barn over here. See this beautiful big barn ahead of us here? It's very ornate. 1892, they won Louisiana State Lottery. And with the money from those winnings, we were able to build a state-of-the-art 15-stall horse barn for their carriage horses and saddle horses. She can walk!
Yes,
She can walk!
Okay, let's walk.
Yes!
Good job, Rosie.
Oh, Rosie wants to see the blacksmithing demo.
So anyway, yeah, it's a great time. Yeah.
In the video 2 on Thursday, July 4th, 2024.